This week on the Hollywood and Toto Podcast, Jimmy Kimmel's big lie couldn't get him kicked off the air permanently, but in a way it helped shape public opinion on a critical issue, and we all got it wrong. And we talked to the filmmakers behind an upcoming pro-life film and how one major star changed everything for their film.
Welcome to the Hollywood and Toto Podcast. Entertainment news and reviews without the woke Hollywood narrative. Free speech, free expression. Now that's entertainment. And here's your host, award-winning film critic, Christian Toto.
Late night lies are no laughing matter. Now look at Stephen Colbert. For weeks and weeks, I think years and years, he pushed the Russian collusion hoax lie.
You told me nothing but lies!
He told us that President Trump was a puppet of Putin. Of course, that wasn't true, but he lied about it again and again, just for some chuckles and, of course, the propaganda push. Did he apologize for those lies? Did he say, oh my goodness, I got that story 100% wrong? No, he just kept on keeping on. That's what he does. And then, of course, a few years ago, when he was dancing with vaccine needles, he wanted us all to get the COVID-19 shot. But he didn't tell us that the shot didn't prevent us from getting COVID-19, nor did it stop us from spreading COVID-19.
Just seems like an important detail to leave out, don't you think?
He just danced away. Again, no apologies, no mea culpas, nothing. That's late night lies, and it's not remotely funny. Clown nose on, clown nose off, you know the drill. Which leads us, of course, to Jimmy Kimmel. Now, Jimmy Kimmel is no stranger to, well, stretching the truth beyond recognition, let's just put it that way, to put it mildly. But also, he got into a bit of trouble recently, self-inflicted, of course, when he told his audience that Charlie Kirk's murder was basically done by someone in the MAGA Nation group. And of course, that was completely untrue.
Stop lying.
But he said it. He didn't pack battle the next night. And of course, you know what happened next. He got booted off the air for a week by ABC. Some stations recoiled at putting him back on the air. Then, of course, the smoke settled and he went back on the air as if nothing happened. But the most important part of that whole journey, that whole cycle, was that he never really apologized. Oh, he weeped a little bit because that's what he does. He's very teary-eyed these days. Maybe he should be a star of the women's show at this point.
Oh, sick burn.
But he didn't really correct the record on what he said. Amazing, right? You get busted for saying something untrue. You try to mislead people about a really significant issue, the assassination of Charlie Kirk. And no real genuine apology, no real attempt to correct the record. I mean, looking back on it, it's really staggering and doesn't speak well of him as a person, honestly. Whatever you think about him as a broadcaster, that's another issue. But these are the kind of late night lies that sometimes stick around. And I'll show example why. There's a new study made by the Media Research Center, which is a right-leaning outfit, but they do great work. And it showed that only 24% of respondents, likely voters that is, understood that the killer, the alleged killer of Charlie Kirk, was a person on the left. And he is. I'm not going to say his name, but the alleged killer is a man of the left. We've got all the evidence we need, beyond debate. But only 24% of likely voters think that. Shouldn't it be 80%, 90%, maybe more? Now, I don't want to pin this all on Jimmy Kimmel. Just one dude doesn't get huge ratings, maybe 1.5 to 2 million in the last few weeks. That's not the worst in the world. It keeps you on the air, but doesn't mean he's got a wide audience. But you know what got a wide audience? His suspension. That whole news cycle was pretty massive. We all talked about it. Everyone weighed in on it. A lot of Hollywood actors said, you can't take him off the air. It's about free speech. Yeah, the same guys and gals who said nothing about free speech for the last decade, all of a sudden, they found their voice. It's just purely a coincidence.
Where have you been?
That's what happened. And, you know, along the journey, along the coverage of Jimmy Kimmel's suspension, the media didn't do their job either. They didn't say, hey, like him or not, Jimmy Kimmel misled his public when he said what he said. They didn't do that. In fact, some media outlets actually said, you know, he didn't really say what you think he said, which is so dumb and so Orwellian. It's staggering. But listen, this is the same media complex that said, hey, Don't look at your eyes and ears. Joe Biden is perfectly fine, sharp as a tack.
You've got to be kidding me.
Same media complex. So it's not really surprising that they would cover for Jimmy Kimmel, who's one of their own. It's not surprising they wouldn't correct the record. They should have. It's not surprising they didn't hold him accountable. Again, they should have. So what happens next? Well, that 24 number, it kind of sticks in your craw, doesn't it? It does for me. So there you have it. A late night clown goes on TV, spreads misinformation. This time he actually does get suspended just for a week, but that was sort of a big deal for sure. And then nothing really changes. Jimmy Kimmel goes back on the air, spreads more misinformation night after night. It's just what he does. And then, of course, the public at large has less information, even though we have more access to information than ever before. That's partly on the media, but it's partly on Jimmy Kimmel, who has really just basically taken his job for granted and said, hey, I'm a propagandist now. I don't have to make you laugh and I don't have to tell the truth. Well, late night TV is no longer funny, with some exceptions for Mr. Gutfeld, but now it's just plain sad. Well, it's not breaking news, but the era of the movie star is fading. There's been lots of headlines about it. I've written about it for years. Big stars don't always move the needle on projects. You could have a Brad Pitt, a Tom Hanks, a Denzel Washington. It's not a guarantee you're going to bring fannies to the theaters. It's just not the way it works now. We're living in a whole new ecosystem. The game has changed, and a lot of reasons why. We've talked about that before. Overexposure, politically charged actors who push away half the country, things like that. We get it. But when it comes to indie films, well, that star value, that recognition, it still matters. It's a big deal. If you're an indie film director, an indie film producer, and you can get a name to join your project, it could be the game changer. It could be the difference between, yeah, we're not going to fund your project, or yeah, we'll throw some money your way and we'll get it in some theaters. Because audiences see that name and they'll give that indie film a little bit more credence. And of course, the studios will give them a little more money, just the way it goes. So the star system is failing, but it still does matter to a certain extent. And that's certainly the case with a new film, an upcoming film, that tells the true harrowing story of a woman who had an abortion, deeply regretted it. And I'm going to put the brakes there because there's a lot more to the story I don't want to share. The name of the film is He Called Him Adam, and it's coming soon, not in production quite yet, but it's on the way. But the filmmakers behind it were able to nab a pretty big star to join the project and, of course, give it that bump, that emphasis, that little nudge that they need to make it all a reality. And that star is Dr. Fraser Crane, who probably better known to everyone as Kelsey Grammer. So how did Marc, Aramian and Veronica DiPippo land Kelsey Grammer? Well, you're about to find out in this week's Hollywood and Toto podcast interview. So thank you both for joining the show. I think it's always good to start at the beginning and how you heard about Regina's story. And obviously you're filmmakers, storytellers, that was a natural evolution. But how did you first hear about what you went through?
You want to do it?
Sure. When we left Hollywood and moved to the South, we started offering our services to nonprofits, pro-life organizations. And when we were covering a March for Life in Chattanooga, Tennessee, the featured speaker was Regina. And her story was so compelling that we looked at each other and we said, this is a movie. Mm-hmm. And we immediately got together with her. We got the rights to her life story. And then we raised enough money through crowdfunding, to film 12 scenes from the screenplay. And then we took that and we edited it into a trailer. And that's what we presented to Angel Studios' Angel Guild.
No, Angel is fairly new in the scene. They've made quite a splash theatrically. Talk about the Angel Guild process. I think it's fascinating and new and novel.
Yeah, what's interesting, unlike a regular studio, the executives don't sit around in a conference room talking about what picture they want to distribute. What they do is they test it with their audience first. They have like 1.5 million subscribers now, and they call them the Guild, the Angel Guild. What they do is they post on their app stories that they think that their audience will like. There are over 1,000 that are submitted every year, and they have a screening process. They throw out some, but then select few they put on the website, and then their audience, subscribers, view it and then answer questions at the end of it. And there's also a chat function, so they can give comments about it. But by answering those questions, I have an algorithm that calculates a score. And if you get anything over 70, you qualify for streaming. They'll give you a distribution deal for that. Ours got, I think, maybe the third or fourth highest score of all time. 1 point below Sound of Freedom, a 93. And you have to get over 85 for theatrical. So it's one of the most compelling films that they've ever had on their screening.
Now, when you think about the whole process, this is like test marketing in a way. This is kind of sampling the audience and saying, hey, do you like this idea? Is this something compelling to you? It's one of the things I love about Angel is that they're really in touch with their audience in a way that I would imagine most studios aren't.
You're exactly right. And that's why they're successful.
Yeah. The response was really overwhelming, and also the responses that we got from the chat function. We had just so many, hundreds of women and men saying this story really needs to be told because it either touched them personally or it touched somebody that they knew, because we're living in a nation now where almost everybody has either been touched directly by or indirectly by abortion. So this really resonated with the audience.
Go ahead, Marc.
No, that's okay.
Okay. One of the things I've noticed over the years is that when it comes to abortion-related movies, themes, and movies, it's almost always one direction. And then when I think it was Unplanned came out a few years ago, it was different, to say the least. And it faced a lot of roadblocks, which were atypical even by Hollywood standards. I know your project is not finished yet, but have you faced any unusual obstacles, burdens along the way?
I would say not really, because we're not on the radar yet, but we will be. I'm quite sure of it. Anything that goes contrary to the Hollywood zeitgeist, they're going to go after it. And in particular, anything against abortion. And really, our story is not focused on condemning abortion so much as showing a path to forgiveness and healing that comes from reconciling with God. So it's a story of hope and healing, and it's an inspiring story. And of course, it has that magical element of having a vision from heaven. And we know that people love movies that have a vision of heaven.
And I actually would say there have been a little bit of obstacles in that, as you mentioned the movie Unplanned. Well, our casting director cast the movie Unplanned, and Susie Sachs. So we reached out to get the same casting director because we knew that most casting directors would not participate in a project like this. So she actually cast the trailer and was in the process of casting the movie. Unfortunately, she passed away. She passed away last spring. She was battling an illness, which then took a turn for the worse to everybody's surprise. And we're still dealing with that because it's hard to lose a member of your team. But and also in terms of when we were looking for DPs and crew members to work on the project, there were directors of photography that we went to and said, we don't want to touch this project. So there are those obstacles, and we know we're going to, and also there were probably actors who were reticent to reply to the audition notice. So we know that we are going to continue to face obstacles, but it doesn't deter us at all.
Yeah, and there are people that are passionate about it and who have a name. I mean, Kelsey Grammer is attached, Vivica Fox is attached, Sam Sorbo, Taryn Manning. So,
Mhm.
yeah. So I don't know if you ever heard the story, but Kelsey Grammer, his girlfriend in college had an abortion, and he said it troubles him every day. So I think he was passionate about the project for that reason.
How did that connection take place? I mean, it's one thing for him to have those personal beliefs, but he had to intersect with your project. What led that to this
That was our
him coming on
casting
board?
director, Susie Sachs, reached out to him, and
Mhm.
that's why she has a very high level reputation, and it was something that he connected with. The material was something that he connected with. So that's how he came on board.
When you think about pop culture, I think it matters. I think people care about it. I know it's not a political, legislation, or it doesn't change things technically, but it influences hearts and minds. Can you talk about that as filmmakers and the power that a great story can wield?
Well, we believe that we know that Hollywood has been a primary cultural influence for decades now. And I really believe that Hollywood's influence on the culture has been, in terms of certainly this issue, has been profound. And it has dehumanized the child in the womb. It has also almost made it something that is not only okay and acceptable, but embraced and celebrated. And you never hear about the other flip side, which is, of course, Regina's story, that there are hundreds of thousands, probably millions of men and women who are negatively impacted after abortion, and also negatively impacted, not maybe even immediately, but years later. And some people, they turn to places like Choices, that has a program. It's a local pregnancy resource center, and they have places to turn to for post-abortive counseling and care. It can even hit you decades later. So it's something that, it's not even something that's necessarily immediate, but this is something that Hollywood never shows you. They never show you this. And that's had an enormous, I think, cultural impact on people. So much so that they feel that, and we hear about this all the time from our friends who are working, on behalf of the pro-life cause, that they almost feel embarrassed or there's something wrong with them because they have these feelings. And this is also something that came up after our Angel Torch in the chat, that we had women who were coming to us and saying, we didn't even know there was post-abortive counseling. Where do I go for this? So how do I find this? And we actually got them connected with some of the resources in their communities. So I really lay that on the blame in the shoulders of Hollywood.
Yeah, one thing we notice is that half the people in this country do not respond to logic and science when it comes to something like abortion. They're influenced by emotional stories, and Hollywood has been churning these out for 50 years. I mean, look back at, Cider House Rules. I think there was an episode maybe 50, 60 years ago on Maude, where they sat around and talked about let's do this story about abortion. And she went ahead and had an abortion, and it was the first time on TV that subject was broached. And the way Hollywood does it, as you know, is that they create these sympathetic characters as their protagonists, and the bad guy is somebody who believes in traditional values, Judeo-Christian values. So, like the movie Unpregnant, that the girl in that got pregnant, she's underage, they don't allow abortion in her state. They set her up as a sympathetic character right at the beginning, and she's cute and she's clever, and there's a road trip involved, and she finally gets to another state where she has an abortion. They don't mention, and by the way, it's like she's going into a spa and they celebrate afterwards. They don't even mention that somebody was just murdered, So, it's a big on the list of what Hollywood wants people to think. And we have to fight it on their turf.
Yeah, it's also been so heavily politicized. It's such a heavy political issue. It's almost like the litmus test for a particular political party now, and it didn't used to be that way. And I think that's and anybody who doesn't go along with the party line has to be condemned and canceled. And I don't think that's a healthy political system.
Now, what happened next to the project? You got the script, you got some pretty big actors. Are you waiting for more funding to come in before the shoot continues, or what's the status right now?
Yeah. So when Angel signs a contract to distribute, they agree to put up money for distribution, assuming that their guild again approves the final picture. And they've committed up to $5 million for distribution. So it's up to us, however. They don't fund movies, film production. So it's up to us. So we are now in the process of raising that money. On our website, if somebody goes to henamedhimadam.com, they can see the trailer, and they can make a tax-deductible donation. And if somebody's interested in a profit participating shares in the income stream, we are selling those now. So that's a preferred shares in the movie itself.
Now is the latter via an angel-like system, or is that your own system?
The which system? You dropped out.
We can participate in the profits potentially.
That's our company. We formed an LLC, and then we're selling preferred shares. Yeah, which is
our attorney set it up. It's not connected to Angel.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, they used to do
that.
That's
That's the new wrinkle in the Hollywood system, I understand.
It sure is. Yeah. And there are a lot
of
things.
That's exciting too, because
there's potential profit in a story that isn't being told elsewhere. Before I let you go, any last thoughts on the film and why you think it's so powerful?
Well, I hope you show the trailer on this particular podcast, if you would. I think people would understand how powerful a story it is, and how enriching it is to discover that it's actually possible to heal from abortion regret.
Yeah. Well, again, the name of the film and the website is namehimadam.com. Go there to contribute, to be part of the profit sharing, and to learn more about it as well. So, Marc and Veronica, thank you so much for your time, and I look forward to checking in again when the film is out in theaters.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Your character actor of the week is Ann Dowd. Well, that's all for this week's show. A couple quick notes. One, I do highly recommend a film. I don't do a lot of film reviews here, but I want to mention this one in particular. It's called Marty Supreme. It's coming out December 25th, aka Christmas Day. And it stars everyone's favorite actor, Timothée Chalamet, as a ping pong prodigy going through the motions in 1950s New York and elsewhere. Now, this is a long film. It sounds like every film I see these days is just over 2 hours. This one is certainly in that category. But you're not going to mind the running time, I promise. This is a brilliant film. It is original. It is beautifully acted. The production design was just sumptuous. And as someone who grew up in New York, the accents in the beginning of the film are just priceless in all the right ways. And Chalamet is just flat out terrific here. I think this is going to give him the Oscar for Best Performance. I could be wrong. They may give it to Leonardo DiCaprio because of his one battle after another connection and all the politics around that. A story for another day. But this is a wonderful film. I was able to kind of sneak past the embargo and share a little bit about it with you right now. Again, it doesn't come out until Christmas Day, but I want to kind of give you the heads up. Marty Supreme coming soon. Definitely check it out. Well worth your while. One of the few films I felt was special. And ironically, I don't think I'm the biggest Timothée Chalamet fan, but my favorite films the last 2 years are both Chalamet productions. A Complete Unknown last year from the Bob Dylan story, and now Marty Supreme. Well, the show is now officially over, so I do hope you check out Hollywood in Toto. It is the website that I've been working on for the last 11 years. Like the show, it's the right take on entertainment. I do hope you'll like this show. Maybe give it a share on social media. Tell a friend or two if you're enjoying it. If not, you don't have to tell anyone. Just kind of tune away. Go do other things. I hope everyone has a wonderful week. Doctor's orders.